Lieutenant in the Garden Grove Police Department. I'm a public information officer. We're here today to do a press conference to talk about the heinous crimes that happened here in Garden Grove, Santa Ana yesterday afternoon. It took place between 4:09 p.m. and culminated with the arrest of the suspect at 6:07 p.m. So to give the order of operations, what's going to be happening right now, I'm going to do the introductions. I'll be emceeing this. I'll be introducing the people behind me who's going to come up and speak. So our Chief of Police is Tom Duray, D-A-R-G. Our City Manager, Scott Stiles, will be speaking today. Mayor Steve Jones will be also speaking today. Members of our City Council are all behind me right now in support. We have Chief Dave Valentin from Santa Ana PD, V-A-L-E-N-T-I-N. From the Orange County District Attorney's Office, we have Paul Walters and Sean Nelson here to support us. So we'll go through the different speakers. Our chief will speak, followed by our mayor, followed by our city manager. Good. Then I'll come back and do a recap of where we're at with the investigation. What I plan on doing is releasing some video after the press conference to show one of the attacks in the businesses, to show how violent this offender was. And then we'll open up for some questions after that. So right now I want to introduce Chief Tom Duray from the Garden Grove Police Department.
Good afternoon. First and foremost, I want to express our deepest condolences to the families of the victims of yesterday's traumatic event. Last night, the communities of Garden Grove and Santa Ana were preyed upon by a violent individual who had no remorse or care for the safety of anyone other than himself. As the violent acts continued, the Garden Grove Police Department deployed all personnel to the area. We activated elements of our SWAT team that specialize in the apprehension of dangerous and violent suspects. Undercover detectives located the suspect's vehicle in front of the 7-Eleven, which was located at Harbor and First Street in the city of Santa Ana. As the SWAT team and undercover investigators began to converge in the parking lot, the suspect exited the 7-Eleven armed with a handgun and a large knife. As officers began to give commands, the suspect quickly dropped the weapons and surrendered to officers. It is my belief that the Garden Grove police officers' response and apprehension of this individual saved the lives of many other community members. I would like to commend the Garden Grove Police Department for their quick thinking, coordination, and teamwork that unfolded during this chaotic event. It was nothing less than outstanding. Had the suspect continued his rampage, he could have injured or killed many other innocent people. In addition, I would like to thank our local and federal law enforcement partners for their support and assistance during this tragic event. They were quick to offer any resources that were needed by our department. This suspect is identified as Zachary Castaneda, who has been identified as a documented gang member. This person should have been in prison and not allowed to be in our community committing these violent acts. Based upon his prior arrest record, he is a violent individual who should have never been considered for early release based upon Assembly Bill 109. As a police chief, I implore our policymakers to reevaluate their policies on criminal justice. The pendulum has swung so far that it is increasingly difficult to keep our communities safe from the rise in violent crime. California law enforcement agencies have been crippled by Assembly Bill 109, and offenders are not being held accountable for their crimes. Our community becomes vulnerable when these criminals are released back into society and are able to commit further acts of violence. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with the families of the victims of this violent act.
Right now, I'd introduce our mayor for Garden Grove, Steve Jones, to say a few words.
Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. can imagine, these last couple of days have been very difficult for our city. There have been tireless efforts to bring this incident to a quick and safe conclusion, which thankfully has occurred. The loss of life is a tragedy in any community, and on behalf of the entire Garden Grove City Council joined with me today, I would like to first express our deepest condolences to the families and loved ones of the innocent victims that were affected by these atrocious acts. These are the kind of incidents that you never want to see happen in your city, but the reality is they could happen anywhere, anytime. We have to be thankful in terms of how the danger to our community was minimized due to the outstanding work of the Garden Grove and San Juan Police Departments working together. Public safety professionals take an oath to protect and serve the community, and oftentimes that means putting their own lives on the line. So we thank them for their courage. Despite being one of the largest cities in Orange County, we have a very close-knit community that supports each other and deeply supports the efforts of our police department. Thank you again for coming out today, and thank you to the community of Garden Grove for their ongoing support.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Now I'd like to introduce our City Manager, Scott Stiles.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I just want to reiterate the comments from the Chief and the Mayor that our greatest condolences go out to the victims and their families. These last few days have been very difficult for our community. It's been a struggle trying to understand the destruction and mayhem that has been caused. We have such a great community here. Crime in general is down in Garden Grove. That's due to the phenomenal partnerships between the community and our police department. Random acts of violence, such as what we're responding to yesterday, do great damage to all the good work that we're involved in. That's also why, as a city, we will continue to listen and engage with our community for the sake of public safety. Those priorities will always be of critical importance to us. I want to thank Chief DeRay, all the men and women of the Garden Grove Police Department, and our Garden Grove Fire and EMS personnel who responded so quickly to these random acts of violence. Special thanks to our undercover officers who spotted and apprehended the suspect in Santa Ana. Without a doubt, other people would have been at risk but for their actions. You think you can stand on your own during situations like this, but it should be noted that we have had many offers of public safety assistance from our surrounding jurisdictions and agencies that have reached out to us. As the Chief indicated, those offers of mutual aid have been and are critical to this situation, and we thank them for that.
Now, just to recap where we're at right now, I'm going to go over the timeline of what happened yesterday. Our first call to the police department happened at 4:09 p.m. in the afternoon. We received a call of a residential burglary that happened at 12612 Chinches in Garden Grove. This turned out to be our victims from our homicide that called to report the burglary. They arrived home, found their apartment had been broken into. They had no suspect information, so the call went into a report holding queue until an officer could be dispatched and the report. As that call was holding, at 4:23 p.m., we received a call of an armed robbery in progress at a bakery located at 13040 Chapman Avenue in the city of Garden Grove. A male, later described as Mr. Castaneda, went into the business and he threatened the clerk with either a gun or a knife and took cash. The suspect fled that location and returned to his home at the apartment complex where the homicides took place on Jinches at 12612. We believe what happened was the two victims that had been victimized during the residential burglary confronted the suspect as he returned because they lived in adjacent apartments. An altercation occurred between our suspect and our two victims, and our two victims were ultimately stabbed to succumb to their injuries at the apartment complex. We received a call, arrived on scene, and found both victims down in front of the apartment, one on the balcony, one inside the apartment. One victim was transported to UCI Hospital, where he died from his injuries. After the homicide, we had the robbery happen, we had the homicide going on. We received a phone call back to our communications center at 5:39 p.m. about another armed robbery matching the same suspect description. This robbery occurred at the Cash and More business located at 12845 Chapman. Our suspect went into that business, threatened the clerk with a knife, took cash, and fled the scene. So now we have two robberies, and we have the double homicide happening. It's draining our resources here at Garden Grove. At 6:06 p.m., another armed robbery happened at Best One Insurance. This was a savage attack. I'm going to release this video later on where it shows the victim, a 54-year-old employee inside the business, was doing her daily operations of her business, sitting at her desk, feeling safe inside a business. Nobody expects to go to an insurance company to be attacked and almost killed at the time. Our suspect walks into the business, confronts the female victim, and without provocation, stabs her multiple times. I'll release this video after this press conference today. After that stabbing happened, there was a check cashing business in the back of the same insurance company. That female victim threw cash at the suspect. He took the cash and fled the business. After that attempted murder and robbery, we received another phone call at 6:09 p.m. from a person reporting a stabbing that happened at the Chevron station, which is near Harbor and Banner in Garden Grove, just north of the 22 freeway. Our 44-year-old male Hispanic victim was pumping gas. Our suspect was also getting gas at the same location. Sometime during this altercation, our suspect produced two large machete knives, attacked our guy who was pumping gas into his truck, nearly severing his nose off and stabbed him in the back. Our suspect, at that time, after he attacked this guy savagely, returned to his vehicle, finished pumping gas, filled off his tank, and then he drove off southbound on Harbor Boulevard towards the city of Santa Ana. At this time, we're making radio announcements across Orange County. We're asking for assistance from other agencies to be on the lookout for this suspect. Our undercover detectives who were here at the station suited up, put their vest on, and went out hunting for this individual. We had no indication where this guy was going to go, but our detectives were on spot and went looking for this suspect. A short time later, our detectives found our suspect vehicle at the 7-Eleven at Harbor and First Street in the city of Santa Ana. Within a minute of looking at the vehicle, our suspect came out of the 7-Eleven store armed with a handgun and a large knife. Our detectives drew their weapons onto the suspect, ordered him to drop his weapons. He complied. He threw the gun down, threw the knife down, he was taken into custody. At that same time, customers came out of the 7-Eleven store and said that the security guard inside had been stabbed and needed help. Our officers diverted into the store, started life-saving measures on this individual, started doing CPR, but unfortunately the security guard later died at the hospital. We learned that the security guard inside the business was followed by this suspect who was attacked from behind with a large knife, dropping the security guard to the floor. After he was stabbed numerous times, our suspect used his large knife and cut the weapon, the gun off the security guard's gun belt. That's the gun he walked out of the store with. If not for our undercover officers stopping this individual coming out armed with a handgun and knives, there would have been more loss of life in the city of Garden Grove or Santa Ana. After this, we learned that at the subway across the street from the 7-Eleven, we learned that there was another homicide where an innocent victim was attacked by the same suspect. So what we have right now, 4 needless homicides happened here in Garden Grove and Santa Ana. The flags behind me are half-staff. That's for the needless violence that's happening across the United States. This violence has to stop. And we're here in a collaborated effort together to try and stop this violence in Garden Grove. So our detectives, our officers, our city council, our lawmakers behind us are all together to stop this needless violence in Orange County. So we appreciate all the support from the community. community, and we want to make sure this violence stops. What's going to happen from here on out, it's going to take another 48 to 72 hours for us to finish our investigation. We're collecting evidence at all the different crime scenes. There's 8 different crime scenes. It's going to take time to process this evidence. Once we have our case put together, the Orange County District Attorney's Office is going to file charges on our suspect. It's going to be arraigned tomorrow. At this point, we don't have any other victims. We have the 4 victims from the homicide, the robbery suspects, and we're still collecting evidence right now. Again, the video from the attack at the location of the insurance business will be released later today. Right now, I'm going to open it up to any questions, and I'm here to answer questions.
Do you have any word on why he did this? Any idea?
We interviewed the suspect. He continued to fight our detectives through the night several times. He had detained, he had to be auto restrained. He remained violent with us through the night. He never told us why he did this. We know at 3 locations he robbed people for cash. We don't know if the motive behind this was purely for robbery, but there was no indication that this was a hate crime. We just know this was a random act of violence, and the guy unleashed evil across our 2 counties.
How long have you told us that he's been out of jail? How long was he released? How long ago?
I don't know his exact release date. We're working on that timeline right now, but I know he has a violent past, he has gang associations, and we're working on his criminal history right now.
Lieutenant, you talked about your resources being, we have talked to the son of the 16-year-old who was killed. Is the question, is to the scene, to the report?
That's not, what she said was, we responded to the burglary call. That didn't happen. That call was still pending. We arrived on scene after we received the phone call for the 2 homicides. When we arrived on scene, we realized that the earlier burglary call was related to the homicide.
So when it comes to these crimes, one after another, do you have to prioritize because your resources are being researched?
As things were happening, it was so dynamic, it was so rapid, with all these violent crimes happening across Garden Grove. We had to pull detectives who were also already working a homicide. They had to leave their desk, suit up, head off the field to assist our officers with all these different crime scenes.
Carl, the suspect we're hearing was arrested twice in July. Can you tell us about that, please?
Michelle, I don't have that information right now. We're going to dive into his criminal history, and once we get a full picture of everything that happened, we'll look into that.
And his brother, we're also hearing, is a victim of an OIS in Santa Ana. Can the chief address that? Chief Valentine?
Yes, thank you. David Valentine, Chief of Police, Santa Ana. Before I answer that question or any others, I also, on behalf of the City of Santa Ana, want to extend our condolences to the innocent victims involved here, all 4 of them. Not involved directly in any criminal activity, just targeted by this vicious suspect in this case in custody. I want to also thank the mayor, the city council, the police chief, everybody that's here with us jointly supporting both of our communities. And we will work through this investigation jointly. So that's important. Another couple of pieces that were covered. This was a sole individual attacker. We don't have any information to this point to indicate that he was part of a broader coordinated effort. One suspect in custody committing all of these vicious crimes. So that's important. It's important to note that, and also to the community and everybody who's listening here, that we're not looking for anyone else at this point. In terms of the question on point, we are looking into the full background of the suspect that we have in custody, under custody of the Garden Grove Police Department. The suspect does have a sibling who was killed in an incident in Santa Ana. Yes.
2 questions about Garden Grove Police. The first was when we spoke with the son of one of the victims, he said that the dining table had been taken out. The question of whether the suspect acted alone. Can you comment on whether you're looking for anybody else to actually confirm? The second question relates to neighbors in that complex that the police, Garden Grove Police visited the suspect a number of times in recent months. Can you discuss all what you were doing there?
I know recently we were out in this complex to deal with a suspect over a child custody issue he was having with his ex-wife. There was some type of, where he took the child under, because the child was under monitoring visits, and he left the child, so we went there to investigate that. As far as any other incidents involving the suspect, I don't have that right now. As far as your question about the table being taken from our victim's residence, there was a table that was taken. There was evidence that was recovered in our suspect's apartment linking him to the burglary. We know that one of our victims had a sword or a knife collection that was stolen. We don't know at this point if those swords or knives were actually used in this attack today or yesterday. As far as his status being under the influence of drugs, I'm not aware of that, but our forensic people do take blood photographs, and they're going to look into that.
Were these pictures taken after he was arrested last time?
These photos to my left are actual booking photos for a suspect. So he's been described as having numerous tattoos by different victims. As you can see in the photos, he has tattoos. His clothing description that he had on was described by numerous victims. There's a video of him being taken into custody at the 7-Eleven store wearing the same clothing described at all other crime scenes.
I apologize for the answer. Was he under the influence? Any evidence of that?
I don't have any indication that he was, but we do take blood from our suspect, and that will be determined through the crime lab.
And the Mercedes is his?
The Mercedes is registered to him, and it's registered to that same apartment complex where the first two murders took place.
And can you touch again on the security guard who was killed? So that's a private guard who was hired by that particular 7-Eleven?
So the security guard was working at the store for security purposes. He was inside, he was followed by our suspect. You can see in different videos as the security guard made his rounds to the store, the security guard was attacked by our suspect, and after being attacked and taken down the ground, stabbed numerous times, he was disarmed. After that, he left the store where our detectives took him into custody of the parking lot.
Can you describe the relationship of the two people stabbed in the apartment complex?
The two victims who died in the apartment complex were roommates. The 62-year-old Caucasian male was the leaser of the apartment, and the other male Hispanic that died at the scene, we had not identified him yet. He was a renter at the same apartment.
So the age range of the victims, please?
Well, from the robbery victims to our oldest victim, it goes from 25 all the way up to 64 years old. So we have different ages. To my right is a timeline of all the crimes and the ages of our victims in different locations.
Is there anyone from the DA's office, Sean, are you willing to address whether the district attorney's office will explore seeking the death penalty in this case?
So obviously the police agencies haven't finished their work, but we're well aware of this. The district attorney, Mr. Spitzer, happens to be on vacation, but those decisions, he's in touch with us. He has been this morning. This gentleman certainly has made himself a candidate, and those decisions aren't going to be made until we actually file, which will be as early as tomorrow morning. And certainly we'll put out a full press release when that happens. But you know, this gentleman has known at this point to have killed 4 people, so he certainly made himself eligible.
Sean, why was this man released from jail? What's your understanding as to the conditions and reasons for his release from prison?
So we couldn't hear you. He asked why he was originally released. I assume you're all aware the status of the law in California is to continually pursue earlier and earlier release of people incarcerated and to continually deschedule serious crimes to more minor offenses. And so, you know, I think the struggle that you heard from the opening remarks from the chief is it's hard for a lot of us to understand how this can be possible. But the pendulum has swung in California to the extent that this person, I think by most reasonable standards, should have been released, but the status of the law was he was eligible.
Well, what was he convicted for originally? If we're to understand that he should have been in prison, tell us what he was convicted of and sent to prison for.
So I have seen his rap sheet this morning. I apologize, I didn't commit it to memory. And I don't. It's obviously all public record. I don't know if.
What's the top thing? What's the top thing he was convicted of? The highest level felony. What's the highest level felony he was convicted of?
Got that, Chief?
So he was convicted for possession of methamphetamine for sales while armed with an assault rifle.
Thank you.
I know at one point the suspect's mother was living in the apartment. She called us a while back asking how she could get rid of her son through the eviction process. That information was given to her. We have not reached out to the mother and have not received any statements for this investigation.
And updated conditions on the victims.
The male victim at the gas station, the 44-year-old male Hispanic, he's undergone some surgeries, trying to reattach his nose to his face, but he's expected to survive. The female victim of the video I'll release later on, she's gone through some surgeries. I was told at one point when he stabbed the victim, the knife nearly missed her heart. So she's going to be in the hospital for some time until she recuperates from her injuries. But she is going to survive.
Are they both Orange County residents? Do you know?
They both are Orange County residents, yes.
Has anyone given any statements as to what he may have said or indicated while he was undergoing these attacks?
The witnesses we talked to said there was nothing the suspect was saying to our victims. He just savagely attacked these people, and for some reason it was totally unprovoked. The subway incident, the guy was stabbed. He was not an employee. He was a customer that was stabbed there. And that investigation is being conducted by Santa Ana PD, but there was nothing that was said that we've learned from that.
So where was he when he was stabbed?
Which person?
The subway adjacent.
I haven't heard that. That's being handled by Santa Ana PD investigators, but I know he was either inside the business or just right outside the business.
And what did he say when he was taken into custody?
Where at?
Initially, by officers.
7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Yes. I know at one point talking to our detectives, our suspect was covered in blood from these different crimes, but at one point he told one of our investigators that that was not blood, it was tomato juice that he had on it. So, again, the suspect remained violent with us. He struggled with our officers being taken into custody. Back here at the police department, he continued to struggle with our officers. At one point, he was handcuffed. He slipped his handcuffs and put it in the front. So he remained combative the entire time he was here.
Any history of mental health issues?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
So I just know he's a violent offender.
And for Chief Valentine, you said something about his sibling, the city with the LA Times, by the way. You said something about his sibling having been killed in some kind of incident. Was that an officer-involved shooting then?
Yeah, it's my understanding it was not an officer-involved shooting.
Okay.
A homicide.
It was a homicide. Okay. Thank you.
Lieutenant, a quick clarification. 7-Eleven says that this security guard was not employed by the store. The lady next door said he wasn't, and you're saying he was. I just want to clarify.
I was being informed that he was not employed by the store. So that I misspoke on that.
So he's just a customer in there.
That's where I'm already just now.
Thank you.
Subway also said he wasn't a customer. They said he wasn't inside the store at all. That's
He's right outside the store, but I was told.
And how would you get us the video?
So the video of the attack, I'm still editing it. I'm trying to blur out our victim and protect her, but I still want to show how savagely this attack was. I'm going to Dropbox it to the media with the Dropbox link. You guys should receive that probably within an hour. He's 33 years old. I don't have his date of birth with me right now. Any other questions? Again, I want to thank the public and for tuning in and listening to us, and I want to thank the media for being here to help us get this word out. We've got to stop these acts of violence in Garden Grove, Santa Ana, and across the United States. And we need the help of the public to help us do this. So thank you very much.
One last question. Is he a native of Santa Ana or Garden Grove? Is he from?
Our suspect? He lives in Garden Grove. He lived at the apartment complex where the homicides. His date of birth is 2/6/1986. 2/6/86.
Can you repeat his name again?
Zachary Castaneda.
So was it originally stopped on Grove or no?
I don't know where he was originally from. Zachary, Zachary Castaneda, Casteda.